Hello everyone, welcome back to the second day of Upstack Hackathon, where we are building an API in Go. So a couple of changes since last night. I did go ahead and added a route to handle slash, so at least we'll have something if we go on, and this is locally. I'm gonna go 5002. Oh, come on. There we go. We at least have something there. We're also hosting this one over ngrok, so our front-end developer can access it in real time. But I've spotted some issues, and I think I've mentioned this last night. Because the data comes from random user, the coordinates that they provide, they are not in sync with the city and country. So for example, this one, which is in Australia, it leads us to, let's see, I think it's in the middle of nowhere, but we'll see in a second. Yeah, I think that's, well, Antarctica. Yep. Not even in the map. We decided to use geocoding from Google to actually align them. So I'm gonna make a request using the city and the country, and it's going to give me a latitude and a longitude, which I'm going to update. So in order to do this one, I'm gonna, of course I need to create it. And we're gonna open it in this one. Okay, just gonna create a simple main file and package main. Let's see. We need to create an endpoint which will return total of messages, and we need another one which will return specific messages from one certain UID. Another endpoint for user details, which will be a get, and another endpoint to actually send a message to one of the users. So for now, everything is going to be accessed to through, I don't know, like a heartbeat, because it's the simplest solution ever to do something like that. So yeah, let's fix the geolocations first. We just need a func main. And give me 1 second to start the chat as well. I'm gonna plump it on the second monitor here. Okay, and we have a viewer already. Welcome. Right, so this one, we already have the database connection saved in the environment variables. So we just need to create, using the same one, the GoSQL package. We're gonna use this one to connect. And the prefix was HK. Let's check for an error. Come on, type. Okay. Too much whatever we did yesterday to connect. All right, we've already set up HK Google API as an environment variable, so this will hold the key to create a call to Google's geolocation API. All right, so based on their developer guide, we can actually call something like this. So the URL will be this one. Put this one in line. Okay, the API key we already have. Location, city and country. Actually, this is city and state in case of the US, but we have city and country and should be fine. Should handle that one. The response that they send, it's rather large JSON, but using JSON to Go, we can convert that JSON into a struct for Go. So let's bring that one in. So this will be maps response. So we're actually, and let's bring general over as well. Not this one, this one. Okay, so I'm gonna plumb them here. We need user. And we need location as well. Okay, we can get rid of these two. All right, so we need to create a query. I'm gonna grab the users. Actually, you know what? I don't need the users. We just need to go over the location. So there's no point in having users here. And I can put this into the location because this is just a small hack, so that's fine. I can create func location, table name, then the string, then locations. So at least this one is complete. The map response, we're gonna handle it. So locations, it's a slice of location. Now we have the query, which is DDB. Find pretty much all of them and put them into locations. We can check for errors, but we're not gonna use anything fancy. Just going to spit out an error and just exit. Fail to execute query, and it's query.error. Query.error.error. There we go. To get the string out of the error, and we're just gonna quit it, and that's it. Hang on, looks like we have some cores. set up the course. That's a lot of requests, man. In such a short time. Okay, looks like so it looks like we're having some issues running off my setup, so I'm just going to build it and just put it up on a Linux server. Okay. Yeah, I'm also chatting with the front-end developer, so he can test the API and start implementing some of the calls. It looks like the Ngrok one was not allowing it to do a pre-filled call to the authentication, even though we have course all set up. Looks like it's not working. It is working. Okay, let's get this one. Set it up here. And let's fetch a username. And our password. It's working. Okay, let's get back to fixing the locations. So for location in a range of locations, we need to build the URL. Now the URL will be as printf, and we're gonna bring the big part of it. And address. Just gonna do a hack on pretty much URL encode them a normal way. I mean, not the normal way, but so let's see. We have location. City and country. So we need the city and country. So cities things not replace all in location.city. And old string is a space, new string is a plus. Pretty much. And do the same about the country. It's not ideal, but it's going to hold. So we need city, comma, space, and the country. So city and country. Sorry. And we also need here the key. So this will be OS getenv. Not SO, OS. And the env is HK Google API. Okay. So now let's do a request. Request method get URL and nobody. Log out the error. Cannot create request. Alright, so very loud. And we should have a client. It's an HTTP client. And we say response equals to client.do and a request. Again, if there's any errors, cannot execute request. Now to get the body, we need to do body. There we go. Okay, some error. Body. Now we have the bytes. We can just create a map response. It's a map response and into map response. Okay, so at some point we would need to know here, it's gonna say logras infof at raw body and a string of body bytes, and this will give us the pro JSON body in case we spot any errors. we can figure out what's going on. Alright, so once we have the response, we will need to get results of 0, because it's gonna, we can actually check. So if length of map response dot results, it's greater than 0. We're gonna say data is map response results of 0. We are only interested in the first result, and we're interested in data dot geometry dot location lat and long. So we can say location dot attitude is data dot geometry dot location dot lat g. Then we just do up, actually it's ddb save location, so it updates the database. We're gonna do a time dot sleep, time dot seconds multiplied by 1. So it's going to sleep, actually it's better to have it here. So it's gonna sleep a second between each row. This way we won't stress the API that much. Let's see if it works. CSGO, just go run. Okay, got the first one, got the second one, third one, and we're gonna stop it just to test that the updates were done. Okay, so this one now was Tamworth, Australia, moved to -31. So let's go maps.google.com, -31 and 150. And bingo bango, we're in Tamworth. And we're in Australia. But it's kind of fast, so we're gonna set it 2 seconds apart. And we don't need, actually we can leave, in case there's an error, we're gonna include the body bytes, and over here we can say across if updated entry number and the ID. This way we know location.id, we know pretty much where it's at right now with the updates. So this one we can leave running. Okay, so it's updating entries, and we still have some issues. Test this one again, but it works. So I don't get what the hell is going on? Alright, so apparently the front-end dev has some issues with the API not being able to access it through Postman or anything. And for me it looks like it's working out okay. I'm not really sure what's going on. So I did try a curl and it's working. I did try po and again it's working, and I got the curl from here. So the cookie was an extra row. We don't need that one. Come on with the flickering. All right, so let's see how this one is doing. 58. So it's going slowly through them on updating the locations. Now let's test something like this one. Yeah, that's correct. Alright, so we're gonna leave that one working. We can close the project. Yeah, a couple of extra things, actually not a couple, just a build script I added this morning. So this makes it easier to create the builds, and it also uses a text version file and automatically updates the version whenever I build a new one. So I can actually stop ngrok, don't need it anymore. So if I go build, it's gonna do version 006 and so on and so forth. Okay, this one it's fine. Alright, so if we go back to our list, this one is done. Go run. Come on, CMD. Okie dokie. Back to the business. So we have the routes. Okay, what was next? Let's do user details because it's not that complicated. So apparently my local setup started working now, so that's fine. Let's do user details. So we need to grab details of an existing user using their UID in the URL. So I'm going to add that route. It's going to be a protected one. It's going to be a get /users/ and I'm going to use UID handlers add user details handler. So this will go into the user handlers file. Just gonna grab the first part from another one which is similar. Okay, so this one we need to output a user model. Yeah, I started an hour early. This will need to respond with an user model. So in data, in user, we are going to say type get user details response. I'm gonna append general and we're gonna get data, but it's not gonna be a slice, it's gonna be just one user. And that's it. Say route is data dot. All right, we don't have any input. I mean the in part it's right in the URL, so it's going to be a parameter in this case called UID. So we can pull it out by saying issues there. Let's see, we can do like models user. So we do models user and a query where UID equals whatever they passed us. And we're gonna pull out the first one. If we have any errors, we report it and dump everything with the error. Okay. If user.id equals 0, so that means we didn't find any user or any users by that UID. And we can just go and we go abort and that's it. Okay, so now in case, I mean right here the user was found, so we can say out.ok, we're fine. Actually we are going to preload the location, so we have that one appended automatically to the object. And now out.data equals to user, and we just go see JSON out.code and out, and that's it. So we just output everything. And let me do a quick restart and we can test it. So we duplicate this one, we say get user details. We just did an authentication, but we did it on the live one and just going to revert to the local one on 5002. So we're gonna authenticate with this guy and we should get a token. Yeah, that's it. So now this one is a get, we use the token and actually it's user / and we need a UID, so we're gonna just grab one from the database. Let's go to the users and we're gonna grab this guy, for example. Okay, we don't need anybody because it's a get. We get rid of that one, and let's do the call. And we have an error. Connection refused. Oh, it's 5002 actually. All right, so we got, let me switch to JSON text. We got Leon Reed, and that was the guy we requested. We got his location as well, which is fine. Let's try another one. Let's try Beverly Bradley. And do the call. We get Beverly Bradley. So I'd say it is working. Cool. This one is fixed. And the screen is flickering again. Goddamn laptop. Okay. So messages, total endpoint. All right, let's do this one first. So this one is supposed to give you the total number of messages that you have per sender. So let's say if you have messages from these three guys, you would get this UID. You have 3 messages from Jackson Hoffman. From Leon Reed, you have 2 messages, and from Kerim Sozeri, you have no messages, or actually no messages would not even make it into the response. So maybe let's say 1. Right now we don't have any messages from anyone to anyone right now. So yeah, that's fine. Yeah, okay. So this endpoint would, for now, it would be called on a heartbeat. So every 2 seconds or something like that, the front end will call it just to check that if there are any messages. And on our side, we would need to control when the last call was made, and if there are any changes, we could say this guy you have fresh messages from this guy or that guy or from everyone. At least this is like a quick way of doing it, and not to mess up with notifications and desktop notifications or push notifications if it's a mobile application. So this will be like a quick and dirty way of doing it. Another way of doing it would be using WebSockets, and that would be in real time. But again, we're not gonna do it like that. At least for this mini application, we're not gonna do it like that. So this will be a get, and we go get messages and handlers, get messages, totals. Okay, we need to create a handler for messages. So, location is this one. Start this time dot now, and we're gonna defer up details, log metrics, start, location, response code, and I think it was dot metrics dot request metric, but no, don't need that one. Just like that. Okay, so now we need to create a separate table. Because this one is gonna keep messages. Each row it's gonna be, so each entry is going to be a message. So we need a separate table to just control when was the last time you checked for messages, like a timestamp, and how messages you had back then. Actually, no, need how messages you had from a certain ID back then at that timing point, point in time, sorry, timing point. Yeah, so let me think how we can better do this. So let's create something like messages count, and we're gonna have a user UID, which will be our UID, and sender UID, which is going to be whoever sent you messages, and a total. And now created that, a timestamp, and then updated that, which again is a timestamp. I can get rid of these. Move this one a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so we are going to add an index on user UID, because pretty much we are going to query the database based on our UID, so it's gonna be used a lot. So this will give us the sender and total messages, sender, total messages, so on and so forth. We need to create a model for it now. And message is count, or we keep it message count. And I'll create a struct. Bring in the, oops, I created in the wrong folder. We have a general user UID, sender UID, user UID, string. Sender UID, again a string, and a total, which is gonna be an integer. Okay, and table name, should have the string, and we have messages count. All right, so I'm thinking maybe we can do, if the goddamn flickering leaves me alone, maybe we can do like a relation. So whenever I'm pulling my messages, I may want to preload the message totals. So usually when I will pull my messages, I'm going to check all my messages for to UID. Or more exactly, where to UID, it's my ID. So, if I add a relation, I can do a message count, but the message count will need to be updated constantly. And we forgot the last check. Last check at, which is going to be time.time, and column it's this one, and we need to also create it in the database. And the total. It's going to be a timestamp. We go current timestamp. Okay. So let's get logged user. And we did create I think we created some helpers. Load user data. Okay. This one wants a new ID, and the UID was c.getString user UID. Alright, so we got the logged user. If error different than nil, then double if. We can report the error, and we get just we didn't define out. Get doesn't know which data. Very stupid. This data. Apparently we didn't define it. No, we didn't. Okay. Go messages. Type. This one. This one. Get messages total response. So we get total response, it's a general thing, and we need put it under data and messages. Actually, I'm going to define the struct. Messages totals and JSON. Actually, it's going to be message totals, and it's going to be a slice of them. And message totals we can define underneath. It's going to have what can we do? We can do a new ID, which is going to be the UID of the user. We can do first name. Last name, can do an avatar, and we need a message. Geez, it's going to be a bool, and that's about it. So this one is going to be a slice of each guy with the total messages that you have from them, and this is going to be a true if there are new messages. And on the front end, we can actually do something like show a small dot or something, some indication that you have new messages from this person. So we can leave it like that. And get messages total response dot default, and now we don't have a problem anymore. So what to do next? So we need to go into messages count. We know when it's the last access point. But we also need to update this data somehow. So whenever they call the endpoint, this endpoint will also update the data before returning a response, I'm guessing. So we first need to go to messages and pull each user. Yeah, give me 1 second. Alright, so we need to go to messages and pull whatever is from me, update or create an entry into the message count for each of them with the totals, and then get the response back to the client. And on the next call, we can then come in and check if anything changed based on the new totals. If nothing changed for each user, then that's fine. So that's what we'll do. So get all messages for this user, compare with message totals if exists, update message totals, and return to sender, pretty much. Alright, so first so the message is to UID and it's my UID. So to UID was this one. So to UID is my UID. Logged user dot UID. Find messages. Okay. See what happened with this one. Okay, finish all the entries. Nice. We're gonna repurpose that window. Alright, so we got all of them. Report the error if anything is wrong. And now we need to check if we have, actually now we're gonna go in a loop over messages. And we need to gather the totals for each of them, because pretty much you are going to have, let's say, let's simulate some messages between first guy and second guy. So first guy is this one. So from that guy to the other one, and then from the same guy to the other one, and the other one is going to be this one. Now we're gonna have first message and second message. All right. So we're now have excuse me for 1 second. Okay, I'm back. So, where did we left it? So the messages. So we're gonna go through each of them, and I said we need a way to oh, for fuck's sakes. All right, so we need a way to count the totals, and we need to gather them in a map, I would say. So let's say message totals. I'm gonna make a map. The key is going to be a string, and this is going to be a new ID. And the value is going to be the total. So let's say message totals of message from UID. So we're going to use this. Normally, to extract a value from a map, you can just go x equals to message total with that key. If we are we're gonna use the comma k idiom. So this one, we don't care about the value, if it exists or not, and how much is it, because we're not actually using that one, but we need to know if it exists or not. So if this is a fresh message from that UID, it's not going to exist in that map by default. So we need to, if it doesn't exist, it means it needs to be created. So we can go message totals from UID equals to 0, because underneath we're gonna say message totals from UID plus plus, and this is going to increment that total that value by 1. Yeah, all right, so with this one we will increment all the message totals, so in the end we will have in this database we'll have message totals of this one, for example. Oh, message totals of this UID, it's going to be equal to 2, pretty much. Yeah, frontend still has issue accessing accessing the application for some reason, and even on their computer there's issues with it. So let me just grab a quick course that I know it works. change the course over here in structs. No, routes. Yes. So let's see what's different from the one that I did yesterday. So this is an array, and this one is simple origin authorization content type XAPI token. We have a max age. That's pretty much it, with the exception of the arrays of strings. And apparently allow origins needs to be an array of strings. And this one it's refusing to actually work. Oh, it's allow origins and allow methods. Let's see. Allow origins, allow methods, allow headers. Yeah, they changed it in the meantime. So this one is actually correct. We do have credentials, which is an extra. So we're gonna have this one commented now. So allow credentials is true. Validate headers. Let's see. Validate. No. No. Need to find something with validate headers. And there's nothing with validate headers, so that's fine. We don't need it then. Credentials, we have it set to true. Allow. Expose headers. The only thing we might want to change are these. So origin authorization, we're gonna add accept. We're gonna add content type, content length, and accepting coding. We're gonna scrap this one. And this one we can actually we can dump. So now we can build a Darwin version for front end. And if my screen stops flickering, I can just get it from there, send it to them. And we can also say go run, and it's available on ngrok. If I go here and do this request again, yeah, it works. One small change that we might also want to do is whenever we're using the application JSON, we need c.writer header dot set and say accept. And this is starting to actually piss me off. Application/JSON. So we tell the client that we only accept application JSON. And let's restart it. Okay. So one more test. this one works, and if we get the Couchsurfer one, it also works. Okay. Actually, we can paste it this one. Get the curl and test it. Maybe in another window. And curl works. Alright, this one goes back to local. Alright, going back to this one. So now we have message totals. We could go through these ones and query the totals. We actually need to, this one's gonna be a little bit intensive. So we have UID and total. This is range of message totals. So we'll pull from the, actually, you know what, let's say, so if we don't have any message totals, we're just gonna say out.ok and abort. So we don't have any messages. We could just return and skip all this logic. So we get post get options. We don't have options here actually. We don't have delete as well. We have allow origins on start, that's fine. And get post put patch options and delete, and we have origin authorization, accept content type, content length, accept encoding, and XCSRF token we don't have. Let's add this one as well, and the authorization one we have. So are we? It's gonna build another version. Oh, come on. Fuck's sakes. I don't need for the build. Allow origins. Oh, we can just set allow all origins and screw that shit. So this one's true and that's it. Okay. Apparently now it works, so we can go back on track. Hi Otaku. Sorry, we've been having issues and I didn't notice the message. Welcome to the stream. Okay, one more build coming up. And we still needed to send it one more time. And it's sending. All right. Derail the whole thing because stupid cores. Stupid cores. All right. So for all of them, we need to pull the sender data and we need to check if there's already something in the messages count. So let's say pref message count, and we're gonna do query where user UID, it's me, so this is logged user.uid, and where sender UID is this guy, UID. So grab the first one. Check for the error, but in this case we're gonna report it and we are going to continue. Skip to the next one. All right, so if we have anything, now let's create a basic, or rather not a basic, so this one is out dot data, it's make an array of SH totals. So we need to create this object, empty, and fill all fields. We need user. So it's sender. And we're gonna grab the full user object. Go into sender. And we set continue. So grab the sender. So this will be if sender.id equals to 0, we're gonna skip it. Is that user does not exist, and then we can just go sender.uid and sender.first name and sender.last name. Avatar. Total 0, new message is false. That's okay. So now we go into pref messages. Do the query. But in the pref messages we need, actually we don't need anything. We just need to know if it exists. So if pref message count.id is equal to 0, so that means it doesn't exist. We can set empty.total. We can set it to total, because right now we know we have this many messages from this sender. And new messages, it's going to be set to true because we didn't had a previous entry. But we also would need to create those, because now we create a new entry for models SH count. So user UID, it's my UID, and sender is UID. Total is total, and last check is time.now. Alright, so we created it. Otherwise, and we can just say continue. No, we skip it. Otherwise, if we have it already, so now over here we say if no previous messages from sender.uid, and this is check for pref messages from sender.uid. So now over here previous messages from sender.uid exists. Okay, so now we have, and we can check if pref messages count.total is different than the total that we have right now. Then we can set actually, you know, this one we can create with total here, because there's no point in having it. Just alter the new messages and that's it. So now if we have messages and the totals are different, then that means empty messages, new messages is set to true, and we need to actually update prev messages count dot total is total, so we added we update the new total, and we also have messages last checkout is time dot now. Sorry, no. And RTP save prev messages count. All right, if they're not different, that means we already checked this one. There's no new messages. We don't need to update the totals anyway. So we can go and say out.data, append out.data and the empty object. And actually, this one, before we can continue, we append it as well, because this one is going to skip all this logic, so it's not going to add it. And this one, it's going to add it because we didn't add the continue, so it's going to go through that. That's about it. This would be a good candidate to launch like 2 parallel queries. So we do the user one and we do the prev message count in parallel, and well, for now leave it like this. So we're gonna remove this, we're gonna remove this and return to sender. So out.ok, JSON out.code and out. Okay. They should work now. Let's see. Oh. All origins are allowed. All origin function allow origins is not needed. Okay, so we added an extra one over here. This one can go. There we go. And we need to do duplicate get message totals. That will be a get to messages. All right, now data, and we're using which one am we using? So we need to do from UID. So we need to use this guy. So this guy, Leon Reed. We need this token. Yep. So now we got some output saying that this guy, 2 new messages, a new message is true, and now the next call should say new message is false, and the total should still be 2. There we go. So now we checked, and if we check this one, messages count, we see that there's an entry with total 2 total messages, and the last check is 1749. So if I refresh it, this one should refresh as well. Actually, no, it's not going to update it because we skipped it. So we said when we check if the totals are the same, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to add it there with a false message, and that's it. So if you check it once, you see the bubble. If you check it again, there's no bubble anymore. So yeah, pretty much it. It goes like already read those. Okay, so this one, total endpoint fixed. And let me try and create another build for the front end. Let's see if what we just did with the allowed origins works. And apparently there's an issue from Angular. It's supposed to pre-flight request. Let's add this header then. Actually, we can add them all. Just see if this one works. So where do we? I think it was in middleware. We're gonna use the JSON one since we keep on this one. We use this one everywhere, so yeah. This one's gonna add the same header twice. It's not good. This one should be options, option. I think it was option. It's options. I was right. Okay, and build another one. To build. Okay. Actually, let's push everything that we did. Logic for messages. Push everything up and Alright, so apparently it works. Okay, going back to the logic part. So we did the messages, total endpoints. We need to retrieve all the messages for one UID. So initially we get this list. So you get this one, and you get to click or you get to tap on this guy. So in order to see all the messages from this user, so we're gonna need an endpoint. Also get, let's see, what did we do with this one? So this was messages. So we need to get also do a get messages/UID. So this one, it's get messages for UID. Okay, close middleware. So get messages for UID with waiting handlers. Alright, copy this first part. So the output part is going to be, again with the flickering. God damn it. So the output part is going to be what? So type struct. Gonna have general, and we're gonna have data, which is going to be, now we know you're requesting messages for a certain UID, so you should be able to know all the data for that user. So I'm guessing we're just going to need to send the actual messages, the body, and the timestamp for when they were created. And since this is, so at least ours will be a web application, we're gonna go with top to bottom based on created. So created at ascending, it's gonna be the order. So the last one is gonna be down. If we were to do it on mobile, usually the listing for mobile is the other way around. So the latest one is at the bottom and the oldest one is at the top. So it's pretty much reverse. But I guess if you do it from the API, the front end will be able to just flip it around if they need it. So you don't have to account for that one. All right, so the data is going to be, let's do a custom one. So message item, and message item actually you need, wait, yeah, you would need to display messages, you would need the avatar, maybe the name, because right now with this endpoint you're gonna get your messages and his messages as well, interpolated by, like, put together by the timeline of the messages. So I'm gonna do type message item, so structure, and I'm gonna say sender UID, gonna be a string, and sender first name, string, sender last name, also a string, and sender avatar, since all of them have sender, we're just gonna get rid of sender. So this will be sender data. For ease of use, we can do myself bool. So at least the front end will know this guy has to be on the left or this machine has to be on the right, depending on if myself is true, then the current user that's using the app has sent those messages. Alright, and we need let's use a timestamp format, which is going to be an integer. Easier to do from Unix with Unix timestamp, Unix timestamp. And that's about it. Let's test it like this and see what is going to happen. So out is get messages for UID. Out default, and out data, make a slice of message item, and also data. Now we get the logged user, get user details. No, what the hell was it? I just copied this one so we don't have to type it again. Load user data, not get user data. Okay, and just need to go through messages now. So query, and this is actually we need the logged user and we need the UID that we're passing. Oh, that's a param UID. So now we need to check all the messages that have from UID. It's so there are two conditions. We need to they need to fulfill. So it's from UID equals to and 2UID equals 2. So this, let's get ours first. So from, it's going to be logged user dot UID, and the second one is 2UID is the one that we passed. And we have an OR. The other way around. So we have 2UID equals mine and from equals the other guy. Just find everything into messages. And we'll also need to specify the order. Created that sending just to be sure that that's going to be the order in which they come back. All right, so check the errors. We're good. We can bail out early if the length of messages equals 0. It's gonna be our.ok and this. All right. Even though there, if there are no messages, the next part of the code is not going to be executed because we are ranging over the messages, and if that range is nothing, it's going to skip to the end. But it's a little bit clearer this way to do it. You know that you can, or you will, mail out early. No messages. Okay, so now we go to these. We can do another thing here and pull the sender data. So sender user and error equals load user data for the UID that we passed. This way we use the same method to pull the user data, because this one just does the query into the user and preloads the location as well. So pretty much nothing to it, but the only problem with this one is that if there is no user with this UID, we get an error. So if we get an error, see. Just returns this one. We say if error is different than nil and that error is different than this one, we can bail out. And then we say if error is equal to this one. Whoops. We can just go out, bad request, same message. Sorry. So we go out with a bad request and this. So we're using the same method. If the error that comes back, it's not found user, so the error came from the database somehow in this part. We're just going to bail out with the error, general error, and if the error was not found, so we didn't find the user with this UID that we passed, then we just come back with the not found error, and that was it. Okay, so now we just range over the messages and we just build M, which is going to be not a message item, and we fill all fields. So UID is actually the message dot it's the sender, so it's always the sender, so it should be from UID. And the first name now, I need to establish message, so we say message sender, it's models.user. It's just a general declaration, so now we check if message from UID is equal to logged user dot UID, or actually we can do message sender, it's always equals to sender. And in case from UID is from ourselves, then message sender it's equals to logged user ID. So this way now we're the senders, and default sender is the other guy. Okay, so now we can just go here and say message sender from message sender.uid. Come on, message sender dot first name, message sender not last name, message sender not avatar, and the timestamp would be message dot created at not Unix. And myself now, it's gonna set it here, myself equals to false. Now we reset it here, equals to true. Now just use myself. Then just go out.data, append it back to out.data and M object, and out here it's gonna be out.ok, JSON, all the code, and up, and that's it. We just create the message object, the message item, we append it in the out payload, so everything goes out with messages. And just to see if everything is okay, just gonna run it here. And let's see, will remind me later. Duplicate, get messages. So we're gonna get them for this guy, because we have two messages from this guy. Yep, human credentials. Why? I think the UID, the token changed. Yeah, token changed. Alright, so we have the two messages. So let's see if I go here in the messages and say, let's add one more. So like I'm sending it to this guy. Yeah, no worries, man. Say third message, and we're gonna, god damn it, flickering. That's it. This is what you get if you're streaming from a MacBook Pro. So we're gonna say the time was 17:15:49. So this, if we arrange by created, that is gonna put it in the middle. So he sent me first message, I sent him third message, and he sent me back second message. That should be, so we should see myself false, myself true, and myself false again. If we run it again, see? So I'm the sender, myself is true, the timestamp, and then the rest of the guys. Cool. This part got done as well. So we're only left with sending a message to someone so we can post. But I'm going to take a small break and come back and finish the last endpoint and maybe do a little bit of optimization here and there, because we still have a lot of time remaining.
Could movement be a key factor in linking dopamine, pleasure, and drugs? Ritualized movements are clearly important in drug taking. They can be as much a part of the trip as the drug itself. request repeated is in any event pleasurable.
Okay, let's get back to it. Just picked up a small pick-me-up. So, where we did leave it, we need to send messages out now. So that means we need a post to messages with a new ID. So this will be similar to this one where we get the messages, but we just send a message to that UID instead of retrieving it. It's gonna be a private group with a post to messages /UID. And send message UID handler. Okay. I'm gonna plump it right here. Context. We can pretty much copy the first part. Okay, so the output for this one is going to be just a simple OK, because we've created the message. In a more, let's say, advanced system, because I've already created isRed, but we're not updating this one at all. So we would here where we would pull the messages, and when we're cycling them, I would say message.isRed equal to 1, and we would know that that message was read. And also for sending out a message, we would do something like every message having a special UID of their own and marking them as read. It's not read, maybe we're sending them over email. This way we could have more control over what happens. So yeah, since this is one, it's really simple. We're just going to use this, and the flickering is back. Thank you very much. You can't flicker when I'm on break. It only flickers when I work. So the out, it's going to be a data general, since we can use just 3 fields that are in general. That's it, code error message. We will have, actually, it's gonna be a post into messages thread. It's not gonna be a post into UID. No, actually we can use both, don't mind. Yeah, so the UID is going to be UID, but we also need an in. This is going to be send message to UID request. So this structure, it's going to maybe just contain the body, and that's why I was going over it, because we might be just posting to messages and that's it. So get rid of the UID parameter and incorporate it into the data. So I'm gonna say UID, which is a string JSON UID, and the body, which is also a string, and that's the body of the message. And that's pretty much what we need right now. We can add binding requirements. Both of them are required, so you cannot send an empty message. And going back for this one, if error is should bind with JSON and in. We can go out, add requests, fail bind data. Oh, it's bid data. Okay, that's my bad. I think we can go refactor and rename. And it's gonna be bind data. So now it's changed everywhere it was used. If we just go through the refactor method. Okay, so fail bind data, and we're just going to port with the code and the output. Alright, so now we have the data for a message. Going to pull out log user. So this is load user data and see that get string user UID. Just gonna error out and also report the error. Okay, so now we have logged user, which technically we didn't need. We don't need it, and it's an extra SQL query. We can just say from UID equals to c dot get string and user UID, because we're only interested in the UID of that user for the message object, and that's it. Now we can just go up, db, create. We don't care about the final ID in the database, so we're just going to create it in place. Message and fill all fields. So from UID, it's even this one, we can get rid of the variable and get rid of one memory slot, which is going to be used. Memory address. So we get from this one to UID is in dot UID, the body is in dot body, and it's read 0, and we just go out. Okay, so this is simplest implementation ever that you can do for a message. And out. So let's break this one and restart it. So now we had messages from this UID to this UID. We're using this one, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. And let's get the last token up. All right, so actually, yeah, duplicate this one, send message. So in order to send it, it's a post in /messages. Get rid of this one, switch it to a post, and we have a body now, which is a JSON. So we need, what do we say, UID and body. So yeah, two of them. This one is UID, and we send to this. Actually, no, that's the wrong UID. We send to this guy, and body, which is test send message, and no errors, 200, everything is okay. We can go into messages and check. So this was the last one from IBF to 66CA. So now if we just grab the header and go to message totals, we should see that we have, let's see, no, we have two because the other guy didn't send us back some message. So let's do the reverse, like simulate the other guy sending us a message. We need to switch the token around, and we need to switch to whom we are sending the message, and test done message, send it, 200, okay. So if we go here, go on messages, we can see that it landed. And now if we get to get message totals for this guy should get a new message through now. Yeah, total message is 3, new message is true. So that means we get a new message from the other guy. If I go here and check them, we got the ones that we sent, which was, wait, we don't have the body here, whoops. Oh well, so message item, we need body. See, we just realized it now. So wherever we use this one, and I need to add the body, and that's message dot body. All right, we start the app. And go back and refresh the list. All right, so now we have the bodies as well. First message, third message, second message. This was the test that we done previously, and then test send, because we send it from Leon, so myself through. And this was the return message from the other guy, myself false, and the timestamps. So yeah, we pretty much done this one as well. Okay, let's see what we can improve, or if there's anything else left. There was an option to send invites. So we have login, we have dashboard, which login provides the data for it. We have the map, we have the users on that map. We have the user details done, and the message sending, and also the reading. And I have to figure out why the hell is it blipping like that. Okay, we got the messages, like all the messages that we have. Pretty much like a dashboard. We have the edit profile. We don't have invitations. So this would be sent by email. We can send invitations to outside guys. You have remaining index and how many were accepted. So this would happen during sign up. So during sign up, we need to generate invitations for the users. I'm thinking we can use the invites table and just generate. So actually the invites table should need a small structure change. They need to have a new ID. Since all the invitations will be tracked, and if you come from an invite, we need to say that it's been used. So another field, by default 0. So when you sign up, we generate X amount of codes, like 3 or 5 or 10. I don't know, maybe 2 invites left. So we can generate the code. We can populate from UID since we already have that one because it's a new user, and we leave 2 address empty. This would mean that the user the invites are not used, and also used is going to be equal to 0. So as soon as we send an invite, we grab one that has 2 address empty, we populate the 2 address, and we also switch used to 1, and that's it. And maybe it's not used, maybe we say accepted, and this is better. So we send it to address, but it's not accepted yet, and when they come and sign up through that special URL, and the URL will probably contain the UID, it's gonna turn accepted 1, and you'll be able to see it as accepted 1 here. Remaining, how many do we have remaining? So let's stay like that. So during sign up, actually let's modify the model for invite, and we need to add a new ID, which is a string, and we need to add accepted as well, which is an integer. Accepted, it's an int. 64. Okay, so now during sign up, when they sign up and do everything, when we create a user, we can add something here, create invites. So we're gonna go with, not sure, maybe let's say 5 for the moment. So maybe we can create this one to be a little bit configurable. So let's say max invites equals 5, and we go with current invites equals 0. Now we go with a 4. If current invites it's equal to max invites, back. Actually, that's not a good idea. Remember Swift having something like let's see. You either create it like this, or you don't. This would have been nice. So we're gonna do straight this. Okay. We actually don't care about the number as well. Apparently we do. Yeah, so we need to create an invite. So invite is actually we need an invite UID, which is going to be UID in UV4, and this one requires an error as well. And we're gonna report it. So we know it happened, and we just skip ahead. And let's see what else. We can just create it, and that's it. The UID is gonna be invite UID dot string. From UID is gonna be user dot UID. To address, we said we're gonna leave empty because they are available, and accepted 0 because they are available. So now during sign up, we just created five invites. I can close this one. You can actually test this one because I'm gonna go and sign up again with my account. And this is 5002. Alright, so I did sign up, and if I go to invites, there's nothing because, let me go delete my account. Because I forgot to restart it. Okay, and sign up again. That took quite a bit of time. So now I do have invites. From this UID to nothing, and they're not accepted. So I have 5 available invites. That took a long time, and I don't really like it. So maybe we're gonna add this one into a coroutine. Let's restart it and remove my account. Okay, and again. Yeah, this one is back to normal, and the invites were created in the background. These are the previous ones, which should be removed because the user was removed as well. So now we need a new endpoint, which will give us how many invites do we have. gonna be at private group get on invites. Let's get invite totals handler. We're gonna create a new handler. Invites pretty much boilerplate code now. We get this one. Okay, and we need also some data. So we need get invites totals response. And it's gonna have a general and total. It's gonna be actually we need to have available, so we know how many do we have left, and accepted is another number. Okay, so this one is gonna be the out variable. It got it correctly the first time around, and it's gonna be out default. Now we need a logged user. Actually, we can just copy paste it from earlier. So we got the logged user now. We just need to create a query. That's from UID, and it's my UID. And actually, again, we don't need the logged user since we only need the UID. So we clean out a little bit of an extra query there. PQE. Alright, so we get the invites, we can start cycling over them. Actually, you know what? Instead of doing like we could do a single query over all the invites. So we go through them, which are from my UID, and we can see if it's used or accepted and increment those values accordingly. We could also do it in two separate queries and do count queries, which are way way faster than a normal one, so let's leave it this one like that. So we have var available invites. Actually, we don't need the int. We can do query. I think the count. I think we need to do with a table like that. Let's see what Gorm says. Yeah, so we put in the model, we put in the condition and just count into the variable. So the variable we already have, so we can grab this one from here, for example, and say now db, and the model is models.invite. So now we need two variables. We need available and accepted. So available means two addresses equal to nothing. So two address, actually there's two queries. We need where from UID equals to my UID. And then to address equals to nothing, and we count this one into out dot available, and then the other one is from UID to my UID and accepted equals to 1, and this is going to be accepted. Now we say out OK, JSON output code and out, and we can dump this one. There's no point. All right, let's see. So this one is going to be a get slash invites. Going back, duplicate, get invite totals. It's gonna be slash invites. It's gonna be a get, and we don't need a body for it. We need a header. And actually, the header it's not correct. Should be my token, because I'm the only one that has available invites right now. So you see we have available 5, accepted 0. So for example, if I go here and say in invites I sent one to robert@example.com, I refresh, I have 4 available, accepted 0s. So now if this guy comes back and accepts the invite, I will have 4 available, 1 accepted. So that brings back to 5. And you can do the rest of the math on the front end by using those two numbers. All right. So you also have checking available invites and check. Okay, so now we would also need to send an invite. So that would be pretty much the last endpoint. handlers dot send invite handler. Sent invite handler, it's going to be in invites. And we're gonna grab this. The out is going to be general. Since we only know, let the client know that the send was successful or not. We will have an in. Hey Lizard, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. We will have an in, for example, it's gonna be something like send invite request. So this one I only need an email address, pretty much. I don't need anything else. So let's also make it required. Okay. Equals to should bind with JSON in add request fail bind data and code and out. Okay, so now we have the email address. I'm not going to add any code to actually send it on an email address because that can be done easily using, I think it's GoMail. Yeah, GoMail package. So you can easily use this one. I haven't set up any test SMTP servers anywhere, but you can always use this one to send emails. We're using it in a bigger project and it works wonders. Actually, if you're expecting a ton of traffic, it would be better, for example, to create an email queue. So the email queue will gather messages inside, and you have another process which goes through that queue and sends them out. So in case you have like 2,000 messages outgoing at once from one client, you need to put them in a queue, and you have a couple of processors that work. This can be done with let's say with a RabbitMQ, or you just create your own queue which goes in message by message, or create your queue processor also in Go, and using channels you can process multiple workers. You can pull in 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 at the same time and just send them. So that's just an idea. For now I'm just going to create the entries and not do the email sending. So we have in now. We just need to check. So duplicate invite. Just need to check if an invite is being sent to the same user because there's no point in it. So we have query. So from UID, it's my UID, and again we just grab it from getString user UID. No point in pulling the log user just for this one. So we need to see if from and one more thing, in dot email is strings to lowercase in dot email. Oops. Right. And also where was it? To address. Okay. To address equals in dot email. Gonna put first into duplicate invite. Actually, for duplicates, I think we can do it even better, and we had one more place where we were checking for duplicates. We're gonna save var. So we're gonna keep duplicate invite, but we're gonna say count, and it's gonna be an integer. And then we can go. Actually, we leave the query because we're interested in the error. So we go model, just like we did earlier with invites, we can extract the count of duplicate invite codes. So models.invite, where from UID is this one, where to address is that one, and we just pull out the count into duplicate invite count. So now we can check the query, everything is fine. If we carry on, so if duplicate invite count is greater than 0, so there is an invite that I sent to this email address, we could just say add logic to resend the email. We could also have another thing with check if invite was sent earlier than maybe 1 day or earlier than 24 hours. So we would stop sending it, or we would send it once every 24 hours because we don't want to spam the other person. So we turn our application into a spam server. If yes, undo or do nothing. If no, resend invite and update created updated that. All right. So if duplicating okay 0, we just gonna bail out, saying that everything is okay. We're gonna return actually see that onboard all the code and out. All right. So now over here there's no duplicate invite, so we need to create it. Actually, no, we need to update one of them. So we pull the invite. IUID. To address is empty. We just pull the first one out. Okay. It's unbelievable, man. All right, so we pull the first one out. We can do another check here. If invite.id equals to 0, now dot add request invalid or no more invite, no more invites. Let's do it like that. Should be no errors. Yeah, I'm gonna dump it here. You don't have any more available invite codes. And I believe available should be at the end. Okay. So if there's no available invite, we just give them the message and we go back. But if there is one, we just have to update it. To address is equaling .email. And what else? That's about it, right? Yeah, because accepted is 0. TP save invite and out.ok. Actually, this one we can send to background. We don't care about it. It's at the end. And c.json out.code and out. And I think we had a few more spots where this could have been done. Like here, we were saving the user, and let me make this one bigger. So, come on, go up. No. Actually, opening find me now. We go one by one. So this one we were saving a user and just so this was an update. We don't care because we updated the token, so we're returning it. We don't care about the save operation because the save operation can go in a background and do it there. The message is prev message count. Again, we can send it into the background. We earn some time spent here. And in users, this is during what? Update user profile. So this was updating the logged user. Yeah, this one can go in background. And user location, we're sending it back with an ID. We don't care about the ID. This one can go in background as well. And this one as well. They can, pretty much they can run in background and we don't care about them that much. Because we're not depending on the result of a save. So we're not using the ID, which is here in general. We're not depending on this one at all. So that's fine. Okay, just optimized a little bit. So going back to send, everything was fine, and we can restart the app and test the send endpoint. So duplicate this one, send invite. This is gonna be a post to invites, we said. Yes, with cancel, with the header and with the body of JSON type having just email. So I'm going to send it to Ravel+1, let's say gmail.com. I don't care. Refresh this one. That's fine. This user now, I'm gonna check token. We have the latest value. Yeah. So send one, everything was okay. If we check the database, it's there. Now if we try to send a duplicate, it's gonna say okay. So this one didn't grab a new one, but the logic that we would have put in here, check if the invite was sent earlier than 24 hours, whatever, it's gonna kick in. So we can actually do this one in background as well and just say, okay, everything was done successfully, nothing else to do here. And now if I go and change to, let's say 2, it's been sent, and we can refresh again. Now we have 3, 4, 5. So now we don't have any more invites available. If I go and get this one, it's gonna say available 0, accepted 0. So if I go and try and send to a new one, like 6, I get the error, you don't have any more invite code available, invite codes available. So that's about it. Works out just fine. So this one was done as well, and the invites. Yeah, this pretty much concludes the stream for tonight. I'm going to come back with another video maybe tomorrow evening, once the judges decide which API it's going to win the hackathon, and I'll keep you updated. Plus I have a couple of idea of other streams that we can do, like maybe build a Slack bot in Go that interacts with the users, and maybe start using Dialogflow with the same bot, so users will be able to actually chat with the bot and get some smart responses back. And maybe we can go even into a Discord bot. I haven't coded any of those up until now, but it's going to be really interesting to do. Thank you very much for tuning in, and have a nice evening. See you. Bye.